Following the riots in Kenya and the loss of lives of many young people that were shot by live ammunition and some that were killed through brutality of police and security forces assigned by President Ruto in Kenya. The People's Gazette reports that Ruto should be tried at ICC for using snipers to kill protesters. Amnesty International is saying that. It seems the calls for this activity to happen are becoming louder and louder. We don't know what is going to be the end of it. The calls to drag the President Ruto of Kenya to the ICC is beginning to grow even louder and louder. And I think people are justified. If Amnesty International is saying this, it is actually a big pressure group that could really lobby for this to happen. While some other people may want to sympathize with the president of Kenya, but as African people, we really have to stand with the Kenyan people, especially when we look at governments and presidents and politicians who don't want to respect the sanctity of life. It is not in the hands of any politician to decide to take lives willy-nilly. It is not in the hands of politicians or in the jurisdiction of politicians to decide who lives or who dies. The idea of having leaders or politicians in places of power who don't respect life, who don't respect their citizens, who would want to deliberately kill their citizens only for exercising their rights to demonstrate against bad governance, it is not something that we should be accepting in Africa. Africa must be beginning to resist any leadership that wants to use autocratic means and want to use lethal force whenever the citizens of their nations are rising against them. It is the right of the voter to complain each time that a voted official is not performing as expected by the voter. That is what our African politicians must get to understand. So the issue of the President Ruto of Kenya remains a thorny issue in Africa, and definitely people must stand up to resist it. People must be voicing out, like we were saying in the past, that we are so disappointed to find that pressure groups, human rights groups, women's groups, and leadership in politics of Africa, as well as Pan-Africanists, they are ignoring what happened in Kenya, where a government deliberately shot people with live ammunition and killed quite a lot, with, of course, with a lot of other people having been abducted in the night from their houses and have disappeared, and most of them still are missing today. And who knows what could have happened to such people. So this is a call that has to be, received and echoed by many other progressive pressure groups and people and politicians and leadership in Africa who must continue to call for justice to be done. The president of Kenya must face the long arm of the law. What he did, he is just a private citizen who has been elected into office. He has no right to take away lives. So Kenyans must continue to demand for his resignation, and we have seen that more calls are happening about the resignation of this man. So we want to continue to make our voices heard. The voices of the people must continue to be heard. The voices of Kenyans must continue to be heard. If they continue to speak against the brutality that the government has done, everyone is justified. Kenyans are justified. They must continue to stand and to demand for their own freedom, because what we are seeing happening is very wrong. Because Kenyan people, they deserve to live in a country where they are free to express themselves, where they are free, to speak out to the politician. Any politician who finds themselves not doing as according to the expectations of the citizens, they are supposed to understand that the power lies with the citizens. And it is the citizens who determine what happens in a nation, not the politician. So the calls for these men to be taken to the Hague, to ICC, are continuously getting louder and louder. And definitely they have to be echoed with many other progressives who must continue to demand that progressive forces must join hands and continue to push and lobby for this thing to happen. because we will not continue to allow any such activities to continue happening in our African countries. Africans must begin to live freely from political persecution by those that they elect into offices. That is totally, totally wrong and cannot be condoned. So we have seen that the riots continue, the fights continue in Kenya, with many, many other young people still coming out into the streets and demanding, the resignation of President Ruto. And we are saying kudos to the Kenyan people. Continue to push, continue to make sure that this man... So these are some of the situations that are happening as Kenya. Unfortunately, I'm having problems with playing my videos once again, but the fight is still on, and Kenyans are still resisting so strongly. They are pushing for the resignation of the president, and I think they are justified to push for such a president. This is the same thing that must happen in all other African countries. As Zimbabwean people, we are also demanding the end of the Emerson Mnangagwa regime. These are the people that are killing Zimbabweans, have killed Zimbabweans, and they don't want to listen to the masses. They want to continue to run the country according to their own ways, without considering the plight of the Zimbabwean people. So any other country that continues to have maladministration, and yet the people that are perpetrating the misadministration on nations, they want to hold on to power, must be resisted. The resistance that we are seeing, the people of Ghana, the young people of Ghana beginning to plan, must go on. And many other countries of Africa must resist the rogue politicians until they receive freedom. We need a new set of leadership in Africa who will respect the will of the citizens of their nations, who will respect the voter, who will respect the ordinary people, knowing that these are the ones that must call the shots. The power is with the people, and the people can demand accountability on every politician, and politicians must understand that they are accountable to the citizens of their nations. They must not just be doing things on their own as if they are gods unto themselves. So let the people of Africa continue to fight for their rights. Let Africa rise up. Let Africa resist. So the calls for this, for justice to be done, the ICC is waiting. And if more and more calls are made, this man, when he finally retires or resigns, like we see him likely to be resigning because of the pressure that is coming from the citizens, then the next step is he must go and face the wrath of the law, so that he will become an example to be offenders of any nature who might be arising again in Africa. So this is it. We are calling kudos to Kenyans. Put pressure, continue rising, fight for your rights, and justice must be served for the Kenyan people. Thank you so much for those that have joined me on this show. Put your comment and also tell us what you think. We want to stand and continue to support the Kenyan people in their struggle.